Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're able to tune into this snippet into the wonderful world of APA. Siobhan, thank you for joining me again. How are you?
You're very welcome. It is my company. It's probably wise for me to be involved in some way, shape or form. Yeah.
We will get the whip and start cracking to make sure this stuff gets done. I know you've had a really hectic day, so I'm really grateful that you're able to share some of your thinking behind the EMP Awards. And EMP Awards, for those that don't know, it's on the screen, the Ethical and Psychological 2020 Vision Awards. This is the third year APA has been running the EMP Awards. Siobhan, give us a bit of a backdrop to the awards and some of the features that you like about this award.
Well, firstly, the awards are in recognition of what either a company does or a professional does in some way, shape or form. I think it's really important to be recognised for our work. We are givers and it's important to give back. So our aim is to give back recognition of people that practice from an ethical and psychological basis. And that can be individuals and companies that follow a remit of ethical approaches and actually stick to those ethical approaches. It's all good and well saying, yes, we're really ethical, but if you don't live and breathe ethical, then it's not real. So we like to recognise people for what their contribution is and how they practice.
And I think it's really different in my mind that we're not telling those companies or those professionals what they should be doing in order to impact positively on ethical and psychological delivery, are we?
No, but if they do want our help to recognise that changes can be made, then we will give them that help to achieve that. In essence, it's really about recognising people for their contribution. Yeah. And like you say, we're not here to tell people what to do, but we do know what an ethical approach actually means. And keeping that ethical and psychological approach there is very important for the whole psychology of any organisation or any individual. If you think about it logically, which is what so many companies don't necessarily appreciate, happy staff equals happy profits, because it's logic. If your staff are happy, they work harder. If your staff feel valued, they work for you in a stronger way. It's psychologically plain sense to me.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
It is, because in reality, we have a duty of care to the people that we work with. We have a duty of care to employees. We have a duty of care to make sure they are supported. But the benefits of that for a company are that the individuals simply work harder because they feel valued and they feel appreciated. So when you look at the psychological dynamics of feeling appreciated, of course, they pay that appreciation back by how they work. So it results in good profits, and it is a no-brainer. And it's about people really getting their heads around what that really means, because unhappy staff will never be as strong-minded in relation to their work as a contented staff. It is a no-brainer.
And it's, there's 5 awards. Everybody can see on the screen behind me, there are those 5 small categories there. I know you want to spend a bit of time on highlighting the Adrian Pennington Award. But before we can do that, what I hope we can highlight is some of the other awards. And we mentioned the workplace, and that's covered with the well-being in the workplace category. We also have the Contribution Award, which is completely open. It supporting community groups, youth groups, whatever that might be. And that's, open to everybody, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. If I'm allowed to introduce my favourite.
Go on then.
which is the Adrian Pennington Award, which is in relation to a supervisee that stands out above and beyond all others. Now, I say that because I had the best supervisor that I could ever ask for. So my ability as a therapist, yes, is a lot to do with who I am, but a hell of a lot to do with what I was taught, what was shared to me, what rippled down the ages, what was supported within me, and what was nurtured in me. And Adrian Pennington was a very special individual, especially he saw me as someone that was somebody that I didn't see myself as, and he believed in me so strongly. And I saw that man, and I do want to say this out loud because I think it's really important, because there's such a perception of wealth in the world of therapy. I was a single parent. I entered that course and I went for every single loan under the sun to be able to get where I needed to get to. When I met Adrian, I needed to be the best image of a therapist that I could create for the client sitting in front of me. Adrian was one of the best people to be able to do that with. So he was my supervisor within college studying, and I asked him to be my supervisor ongoing. And I was with him every single week without fail, whether or not I had one client, whether or not I had three. I'm not saying it isn't financially difficult. I really am not saying that. I'm fully aware that it is. But I am a single parent without any maintenance money coming in, because I want to cover all the bases of people's perception here. I did it because I needed everything that that man held in his head that he could give to me. And by being able to give to me, I could give to others. So for me, Adrian sadly lost his life a couple of years ago to cancer. And I was incredibly fortunate and very honoured to actually have my old supervisor contact me and say, how quick can you make it to my bedside? Which was really emotional for me, because I had created a 14-year relationship with him that spanned weekly appointments. And for me, he was my mentor, he was my guide, he was my educator, he was my supporter. He was not there to tell me what to do or criticize me, and he never did. But he taught me everything that I didn't know myself. And having someone like that by your side has led me to be the best I can for my clients. Having that attribute by my side for so long led me to have a thriving private practice. And people really don't appreciate, in my honest opinion, too many don't appreciate the impact of an amazing supervisor on you that ripples to your clients, that ironically ripples to your business growing, because it turns into recommendations. And I can only speak for myself, but that's exactly what's happened. You know, I never advertise my private practice. I have a website and I don't do anything with it, because fortunately his experience that he gave to me, I give to my clients. That turns into referrals. I don't have to do anything. I'm constantly inundated. So because of his education.
So the Adrian Pennington Award is really for those supervisors that are already working out there, who identify the promise and the talent and the skills coming through in those that they supervise, and giving them that opportunity to recognize and support the people that they're nurturing, rather than just the kind of supervisor-supervisee relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a real recognition. I mean, I remember Adrian, and this is a word that I still struggle with to say out loud, because it was his word about me rather than me feeling this about myself. He believed that I was his protege, and he just believed in something that I had within me that I didn't even know existed within myself. And his determination to feed me almost throughout the whole of our relationship with more and more information, to be able to sit next to that man the day before he died and hear his last words to me, which were, I hope I've made an impact on you, which, you know, by then we had a completely different relationship to where I started with him. And I was able to be incredibly direct with him and say, what do you think I'm doing here? If I didn't have an impact, if you didn't have an impact, I wouldn't be here. Of course you had an impact. And also that he wanted to acknowledge that he had grown softer in his communication with me, which he had. You know, he was never awful in any way, but he became softer in his tone. And for your own supervisor, the day before he died, to say to you, you are my last piece of psychological work on this planet, that had me at the time, understandably, in buckets of tears, because he was to a degree like a father figure to me, but a father figure within the world of mental health. And I relied on him so much. And it's weird because I will say this, and might sound like a bit of a name drop, but I'm going to say it anyway. I feel a little bit like that with Windy Dryden, because when I have a problem, and it's not usually to do with clients, but if I have a problem, I have the ability and his permission to ring me up when I need to and be able to chat to him, which I do every now and then, but I don't like taking advantage of his time and the gift that he's given me. So for me, this award, you can see it means so much to me, because I can't imagine, I know what I felt being told, you need to go and study a PhD, which I didn't do at the time. I ignored him on that one because I really needed and wanted experience under my belt. And furthermore, I needed some money to make up for the bills that I was having. But when I think about how that word of protege stayed with me throughout the whole of my time with him and will stay with me to the day that I die, I just think, how would a supervisee feel if their supervisor acknowledge the talent that supervisee, who is usually, especially if they're in training, they're usually quite nervous about what they're going to do, and they ought to be, because it's the most responsible role. So can you imagine what it might feel like for a supervisee to have their supervisor go, this is what I think of you and I'm nominating you for this award? The confidence boost that will give, especially a trainee. Mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, two of the other awards to mention are, well, first off, before I do that, I would like to say a massive thank you to Adrian's family, who have supported APA in bringing this award into being. It would be wrong of us not to mention that. And to anyone that is kind of reviewing, you know, even lecturers that are working with students, please consider the Adrian Pennington Award for those students that you can see as rising talent. This isn't about the finished article, is it? This is about that identification of talent.
Yes, and it's about a real recognition of the relationship. It's the relationship that clients have with therapists is a profound relationship. The thing that's missing with supervision is often it's not seen as a relationship. It's seen as, oh gosh, we have to do this, tick box. But I want the therapists around me, and the ones that are around me actually think very similarly to me. They know the importance of very, very good supervision. Supervision is based on nurturing, supporting, and educating. And the things that come up in a therapy space can be so wide ranging. And sometimes, especially when it comes to emergency or crisis situations, having that supervisor to be able to get a hold of and say, look, can I talk this through? I know it's even outside of our time, but can we bring an appointment forward? Is so important because you're setting an example. And Adrian was there for me throughout some of the most craziest situations, including kidnapping from our premises. You know, there was crazy situations that he helped and guided me with, and he actually stopped that kidnap by giving me information for me to do something with that information, for me to be able to prevent that situation escalating into, God only knows, an horrendous situation. So when I say supervision is important, it's important because it's not just about you, it's about you creating a relationship with somebody that can guide you with the information that they have been taught. Yeah. And when it's great information, it helps a client. And if it helps a client, that client recommends you. And if that client recommends you, it gets given back to you without you ever asking for any reviews.
Yeah. Okay, so the other two awards to mention is the Youth Engagement Award and the Directors Award. And the Youth Engagement Award is something that we put together because there are organisations out there that are specifically supporting young people. That's the only thing that they do. And really the recognition and to celebrate that really tough work that goes into that community is something that if there isn't an ethical and a psychological backbone, it falls apart, doesn't it?
It certainly can do. There's so many different ways. I have somebody in my mind who I need to go and see and visit how they work in my own area. And I know, David, that you will know exactly who I'm thinking about when I say that, because they work with the youth of today. And in London, and I can only speak for London because this is where I am, the youth of today they're being let down in ways that are unimaginable. And to have somebody have the courage and guts to create organisations to support those individuals, because let's be honest, the teenage years are literally the hardest times of our lives. We're expected to be like adults, but often we're treated like children. You know, and there's all those hormonal changes, there's exams, there's so much pressure. Never mind social media nowadays. Social media is having such a negative impact on the youth of today that it's absolutely horrendous. Things are changing, and they're changing at too quick a pace. So for organisations that actually support the youth of today, they are the adults of tomorrow. So if they don't get the support, we're heading for even bigger problems. Yeah. So that support, I think, is an incredible thing to acknowledge because it shows people's passion, their capacity to support the youth of today, and the impact that they will have on any youth. And I am thinking of this particular person in my head. That could go anywhere in each person's lives that they work with.
And again, I think it's worth pointing out, APA is not setting parameters and telling organisations or individuals what they should be doing. They have the creativity, they have the solutions. What we're looking for is for those organisations to share what it is that they're doing that's creating the solutions for positive outcomes in their arena. And we can then showcase all of that talent. And I'll come to what we do with that in a second. But the final award to cover is the Directors Award. And this is an award that I know last year you really enjoyed going through all of the candidates for this and kind of really seeing those individuals that stand out and those organisations that stand out for the Directors Award. But as we go into coming up to our 3rd birthday, what do you want to see the Directors Award become into the future?
I want it in the future to be a recognition of the ethical standards. And if I'm thinking about literally the world of mental health here, so how placements run, how those students are supported during their placements, the ethical standards attached to those placements, how those trainees are guided, nurtured, supported, the boundaries between management and supervisor. Too often I've heard of placements where the same person plays the same roles. No, it ought to be boundaried. And I know that there's some amazing people that run placements, and I'm thinking of a few people in my head right now, and they hold those boundaries very strongly and very clearly. And they're creating a generation of therapists that are in essence much more self-aware, simply by the level of support that they're getting through the process of their own training. And for me, that's implemented within the client work. So for me, it's like a ripple impact of seeing how they perform, how they work, and actually just recognizing them for what they are doing. Because like I said, the world of mental health is full of givers. It's also full of takers, but it's full of givers. And in truth, the givers deserve to have something back from our perspective. So this is our way of doing that.
So the way we've set this is truly unique. I haven't seen this kind of system in awards, certainly not in the UK, where those 5 categories are open from January through to October, and it's a rolling nomination, isn't it? Those awards go out as the information comes in, and the assessment team go through all of the evidence, etc. But then in October, all of the winners from the categories go into the final kind of selection, if you like, for that ultimate award, the larger one on the screen there, the Ethical and Psychological 2020 Vision Award. And that gets awarded at the end of the year event for APA. And we've had some amazing winners over the last 2 years. We have a Professor Nabbit, who is a nominee for the United Nations Secretary General's post, and a Peace Prize nominee.
He's got a long list of
He's got a list. We could be here for a very long time. We have Marcus Spears from 3 Pillars, who is really spearheading a change in the financial sector around ethical and psychological engagement. And that's amazing to watch, isn't it?
Yes, it is. All the people that have been involved in all our awards in one way, shape or form, credit where it's due. You know, I'm thinking of Dennis here, Dennis Rahola, and what he does with his blogging and his mental health blogs and how he helps, he assists. You know, there's so many people that I could think about right now that have done amazing work and continue to do it. But the point of this is that they're very unique. When I think of, Asa Don Brown from Harvard in America, he is not just one of the loveliest people to know, but his education and his understanding is just off the chart. So the people that we're drawing in are people that really shine out in what their work is to do with helping people, assisting people, creating a change that actually makes a difference in the world of mental health. What more can you ask for from anybody other than that?
And this is where I think APA kind of departs from the traditional, because we are saying, come and tell the mental health world what it is that you're doing that's working in your arena. Let the mental health world learn from what you are doing in your arena, because the mental health world has spent a long time telling the rest of the world what they should be doing, and it hasn't actually worked out too well, has it?
No, it hasn't. And we're consistently working on developing changes and evolving as we go, and that's part of life. Part of life is evolving and changing. But for APA needed, and rightly so, was going to be different to every single organisation out there, because there is a therapist running it. There is a coach working with that therapist to run it. And it's really important to acknowledge that when it comes to the world of mental health, unless you have a 100% understanding of what issues are, how they come about, where they come from, how to help resolve them, then no disrespect, no one's going to care as much as somebody that works in the field of mental health directly. Nobody is. You know, we are business people, but we are business people with the ethos of mental health that runs through the blood of our veins. And that certainly is something that I own.
And I want to say a massive thank you for your time and taking us through certainly the Adrian Pennington Award, because I think that is something that really does encapsulate your passion for the growth of positive mental health across the sector, across the UK, and wherever APA is positioned. And as you know, that is growing now. We are having conversations further afield than Europe, and not to, you know, that isn't to say the conversations that we've already had with the Americas and North America are any less important, but now we are stretching further eastward. And that is something that the EMP Awards will be a massive part of, in showcasing how positive mental health can make a difference, not just make a change. So for everybody that's been able to watch, thank you so much for your time. If you know anybody or any organization that can benefit from having an EMP award and getting themselves into that category for the 2020 Vision Award at the end of the year, get your nominations in for those categories before the end of October. Siobhan, thank you so much. And hopefully we will see you in another snippet very, very soon.
Thank you, David, and take care.
Take care, everybody.